What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? What's going on? How we doing? How we doing? James, my brother, my girlfriend is crying out for a Muppeteer shout out. She's a big fan of who? Of me? Yeah, just give me a name, unless you just want me to say to Finn's significant other. Here's a shout out. This is a shout out. But how are you all doing today? How's it going? What are you all up to? It's Friday. We have a game tomorrow, believe it or not. A preseason game, the final serious preseason game before the Premier League. We are 1 week away from kickoff. We are 1 week away from kickoff. Can you believe that? From the Premier League, right? Because the first game's always on a Friday, right? What is the first game? Isn't it on a Friday? Yeah, it's Liverpool versus Bournemouth. That's a good game. I love the Friday kickoff for the Premier League. I always watch it. It's always so exciting. We also have the Community Shield on Sunday somehow. That's wild. If you can believe that. Are you a Baleba? I think we've got a lot of Balebas in the chat. You know what I'm saying? I think we've got a lot of people here who are Balebas one way or another. It's Stinky Football from Leverkusen. I wonder who their coach is. Yes. Well, a lot to talk about today. I think that moving forward, I really enjoyed yesterday's video, yesterday's live, with everybody getting to chime in to talk about things. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, he's done it already. With everybody getting to chime in and talk about things. It was really fun. I need to figure out the right time to do those lives, because during the season, doing them after games, like maybe the next day or right after, would probably be a lot of fun, a lot of chaos, be very, those would be like the crazy ones, right? Like almost like doing the fan interviews outside the stadium, but online, which I've always wanted to do, to be fair. So if I have time, I'll probably do lives right after. But I want to add that it would be then cool to maybe do one like every Friday or something as well in addition. The lead up to the weekend, what are we expecting? How are we feeling? You know, so maybe a couple, maybe post-match, day before match, things like that would be good. But look, we've got a lot to, I've got a lot to say to you, we've got a lot of subjects to cover. It's been a busy day. It's going to be a busy few days moving forward. We're going to talk about, obviously, Carrington has reopened. And obviously, we're excited about that. We are excited about that. I think this is a good thing. It's not everything. In general, we know these are these good things that add together towards hopefully the success of the club in general, and the players playing better, and the players producing more on the pitch, and the players having better mindsets, and the players being more focused, and all of that. It's the environment, the attitudes, the culture, all of that kind of stuff. So we know that matters. Once the ball is kicked, we'll hope it, matters a little bit more, for sure. So we'll talk about Carrington. I want to look through some of the pictures together. We're going to talk about the players have had access for a few days. We're going to talk about Hojlund, because I really want to talk about his future. It's interesting. It's an interesting kind of conundrum. Yeah, Hamza, I was talking about that in this video this morning, about his
James,
sort of desperation.
To Wharton, lol.
We'll talk about, and I definitely want to talk about Wharton, because, of course, if you guys know me, which you do, I think the most of you are long-time viewers at this point in time, I've been talking about Wharton for years now, literally. And he was and remains somebody highly, highly admired by United. But I want to talk about it in more specific about what it might mean. Not saying it's true. I'm not going in on this indie stuff, okay? I think Wharton is a pretty obvious name, frankly. It's really hard to tell now if there's any truth to the stuff that Indy is posting since that initial exclusive. But Baleba and Wharton's been the guy, one of the guys for a long time. And I want to go back to some earlier thoughts, and I want to peruse it a little bit because there's definitely always been truth in United's interest in Wharton as a solid target this summer. But whether it's brought up today, that's a different question that we'll talk about. So there's that. We'll talk about Garnacho, and we'll talk a little bit more about Baleba, and maybe by the time we get there, we'll have some news. I've got plenty of questions out into my ether right now, trying to figure out what's going on different situations. And then in addition, we'll do our vote for Friday's game. Hello, Jason. Good to see you. James, are you seeing this Delap stinker? Yes, and I got to tell you what scares me. I think Delap is crap. But what scares me is that if Delap is bad, then I have a really good track record of knowing which players are going to be crap. I actually do. I've actually got a pretty good record on which players. I'm not saying the players I think are all going to be good are going to be successful. I've plenty of players I thought are going to be good have not worked out. Maybe that's a club issue, maybe it's not. But when it comes to saying which players I think aren't going to work, I've been almost 100% on that, frankly. I've been almost 100%. I don't want to be right about anybody else, so I'm not even going to name names. But it does worry me a little bit, okay? No, I'm not, because I don't want to even name names. I'm not. Sesko I want to be as wrong as I could possibly be about my feelings on certain players. Is it true Sesko asked about playing tomorrow? I have actually no idea, Stuart. I doubt it. He hasn't trained yet. I don't think he has his visa yet. Work permit, whatever it may be. Didn't I want Delap? No, not really. Not really. I didn't really. I didn't really. But, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Forget it. Forget what I said. I didn't say anything. You guys are just being overreactive. Relax. It's all gonna be okay. I have not said a word. I have no feelings on the matter. So, yeah. Anyway. Hold on. I'm just getting a call. This actually could be important. Hold on. Guys, it wasn't important. It almost never is, but just I get a call about 9 times out of 10 when I'm going live, and 1 out of 10 of the times I get a call, it's actually somewhat of an interesting thing. This time was definitely not one of those times. But, yeah, sorry. What the fuck is going on? So, what the hell? Sorry. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's get to it. Carrington, Garnacho, Hojlund, Baleba, and the midfield. What are we thinking, my dudes? What are we thinking? That's what we want to get to. What do you guys think about Carrington? What do you guys think about Carrington? Are you guys like excited about it? What do you think about the new look? What do you think about the opening? What do you think about all of that? Just give me your thoughts, and then I want to go through some pictures. Fabrizio said United are focused on Sesko before they speak. Yeah, and that's fine. I'll talk about that in a second. I'll talk about that in a second. You think it's great? Let me, I want to poll something. This is a silly poll. Why would I poll this? Why would I poll this? I was going to say, look, if you, like, because I was going to ask, like, do you think it's going to make a difference? Do you think it's going to help us be a better football team? But the fact of the matter is, like, it has to. You know what I mean? Like, it has to make us better. It has to improve us on the pitch. It has to provide us with, you know, the something. You know what I mean? Like, it has to make things better. When you look at how, you know, everybody is, when you look at how, like, everything has come together, and you think about everything that's happened over the years with players arriving, you know, people complaining about, like, you take CR7, right? You take Ronaldo. When he comes back and he complains about the situation, imagine how many people come back and don't complain about the situation, or come in and don't complain about the situation because they're not Ronaldo, but are like, the fuck did I just walk into? You know what I mean? Like, imagine how many of them have come in and just gone, this is it? Honestly? Like, this is Manchester United? Because Ronaldo is an extremely vocal individual, but there are plenty that are not. Plenty of young players, plenty of older players, plenty of experienced players, plenty of players that have been around the block. And you have to think it just gives them a feeling of unease. You know what I mean? Like Alexis Sanchez is an example where he said, like, he arrived and he wanted to leave the next day. And you think, well, that's a player who's been around a long time and things like that. But certainly there's plenty of players who you look at and go, they probably were miserable, you know, and you think about, you think about the tours. Think about Jude Bellingham when we brought him in and thought, yeah, we'll show him around Carrington, and then surely he's gonna stay. You know, he's gonna want to pick us. Well, no, but like, what if we had this Carrington? What if we had this place? What if we had something professional in there to actually present to people, not something falling apart, not something old and not fit for purpose? It's probably caused issues, and it's probably caused situations where, you know, just unease. And it's like, you have to take all these. Here's the thing about it, right? There's so many basics. Right, that go into a team being successful. You talk about the grounds, the training, the area, the environment, the culture, all of those things, all the little things, the togetherness, the teamwork, the this, the that. And do those things mean you are going to be successful? No. But I tell you what, not having them does mean you won't be successful. It's like if you take a car, here we go. Here comes a good analogy. If you take a car and you have a car that is functional, good engine, good tires, gas in the tank, all of that kind of stuff, you're not necessarily going to win the race because every single team shows up to the, you know, the race, the F1 race, whatever, with a functional car, I think, and a functional team and the basics, right? But if your car doesn't run, if you're missing a tire, if you're missing gas, if you're doing all of that, you're definitely not going to win. Let's put it that way. You may not win just because you're there with the basics, but you're definitely not winning without it. Use an ex-wife analogy. Let me think for a second. I mean, if you took any relationship in that respect, right? Let's say you do get married and you wanna go for the future, right? Like, just because you get along, just because you agree, just because you don't cheat on each other, just because you have attraction, doesn't mean your marriage will go the distance. But if your wife sleeps with someone else, it's definitely not going the distance. You know what I mean? So there you go. Basically, not having a proper training ground was like your wife sleeping with someone else. Yeah, nailed it. Nailed it. Got it. So good. All right, we got it. We got it out of the way. Or you. There it is. That's what it is. No, it's a great analogy. It's a great analogy, okay? It's a great analogy. That's it. You just have to accept it. Someday you'll understand when your wife sleeps with someone else, okay? Maybe. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on from this analogy. You have 3 ex-wives, so you know. That's exactly it. You know what I mean? It's just the basics. It's just the basics. It's like there's just the basic things that have to make things work, and you need the basics in place. That doesn't guarantee it's going to be great, but without those, then it's not going to work. For sure, it's not going to work. It's like, it's easy to guarantee failure. It's not easy to guarantee success, but you can set yourself up for success. And that's what we're doing with things like the training ground. That's what we're doing with things like the culture. So that's what we're doing with things like, the relationships between the players. That's what we're doing with all of that, is getting the basics in place that we can actually build upon, the foundations, to build upon. My wife knows I'm not talking about her. I was married before. So, yeah, she knows. So, yeah. It's like a math condition. It's necessary but not sufficient. Yeah, but people can't do math. My videos have shown that people do not understand math, okay? If I thought United fans understand math, that would be like half my content would be gone, to be quite honest. Stuart, thank you for the gifted memberships and supporting the channel. As always, I needed a good distraction to get me out of this analogy and over into something a lot more relevant. Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you. Let's take a look. Actually, I want to look at this video with you guys. Talk about a couple of things. Here's the video. I'm just gonna mute because I want to make sure it doesn't play over everything. But I think this is really cool. I mean, obviously the drone shot through the whole thing was exceptionally well done, by the way. The whole open space. I mean, hold on, what was that? Look at the kits. Wait. Oh, I thought the third kit was in there, but it might have just been the keeper's kit. Wait. Is there a kit? Are all of these released? Are all of these released? I didn't catch that on the first time. Are all of these released? Yeah, there's like training kits in the home and away. Is that the keeper kit? Yeah, it's not the third kit. It's the keeper kit. Yeah. So anyway, it's cool. We play a couple seconds at a time, so we don't get any sort of like the copyright or anything like that. But anyway, it looks really good. The kit is out on Tuesday. I thought, yeah, the new kit, the third kit as well. So it looks great. It looks excellent. I think it's a fantastic. I think it's a fantastic ground, and I think that people are going to be really happy. I look at like Cunha and Bumo, Leon coming back from this, going away after being at Carrington a little, if at, maybe just a little bit, and coming back to this brand new ground, and it's like, holy crap, like this is awesome. They must feel so excited. And then you look at Sesko coming in, and he's gonna come in and be like, feel like he's actually arrived at a serious institution. You know what I mean? I thought Sir Jim's words on it were pretty telling, as of course was the fact that he was there, not the Glazers, as we know. Where, you know, he said that when they saw it 2 years ago, when they first came in, they certainly knew it needed upgrading and it needed improvement. And it's crazy, man, because it's like, these are the types of things that just should have been done. This is the stuff that the owner simply should have been doing for a long time. They could have done this at any point in time to actually fix this place up to be at the standard that it should be. And the thing that I like most about this, that I think is the biggest proving point, aside from the fact that it was from Ineos investment in it, the biggest green flag on Ineos here is this. Ready for it? This is not a moneymaker. It's not. This is not a moneymaker. There's a lot of decisions that they've made where one could look at it and say, all right, that's just business, you know? That's just business, getting the money in place, things like that. Carrington is not a moneymaker. Carrington is not a moneymaker. Carrington is a place that you're going to expect. You're hoping to do it because you're prioritizing football. Now, you can get sponsorships and things like that, but the sponsorship of Carrington is actually going to have a lot less to do with the Carrington building itself, okay? The sponsorship of Carrington is not going to be because of the building. The sponsorship of Carrington, if they get it, and a partnership, is going to be more likely that United are good again.
If SJR is in town, could we see fast progress on pushing for CB?
We'll talk
like
about
Bry
that.
after Iceland summit.
Yeah, like, you know, maybe he talks to them in there. He's only there for a few hours, but, you know, has a conversation with them, you know, get the Baleba deal over the line, or, you know, we'll be fishing in Iceland again. It sounds very threatening, you know what I mean? Saying something like that, like, get us Baleba, or, you know, or we'll need to go do some fishing in Iceland. I wonder what happened up in there, honestly. The way that it works is that, you know, again, essentially, the point is, you know, the training ground will likely be sponsored because United are on the up and up and everyone can see it, more than it'll be the building itself being an investment. And so it's an investment in the football. It's an investment in just the team being better. It's an investment in us playing better as a team. And that's what I think is the kind of important point about all of it, is that that's what we're going for. Is it's an investment, and it's decisions to be made that say, okay, you know, that's what it is. Hold on one second. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's an investment in the football, and I think that's important. So yeah, hopefully once we're doing really well, we'll have a training sponsor.
Hearing
on top of
United
that.
know that to sign him they need to get close or even break the Pogba transfer record. It's not a player's fault, his transfer fee, but do you think a 21-year-old player can handle the pressure that comes with it?
You know, Jason, it's a good question, right? And I think that the answer to that question is a matter of whether they think he's got the right character or not to sign him in the first place. There are players that fade under the pressure, of course, but at the same time, like, they're going to be weighing that up into consideration. I think the fact that he's already in the Premier League is a big part of it. Coming from another country where you've not played in that competition, coming in is big. It's tough. It's hard to do it. But coming from the Premier League to another Premier League team, you're just doing the same thing week in and week out, right? It's the same as, and that's why I love signing the Premier League players. Like, I think that they you know what you're getting and they know what they're getting. But I think I want to make a huge point on character. Character has been at the top of their list and how they're looking at every one of these signings. The character of the player, the mentality of the player, the talk to the player, to research. One thing I would say that I think Solskjaer got right on a lot of the signings he was looking at before, like the crazy part of the end, is they would have a lot of character research done. That seemingly went out the window at some point, but I think it's the most important thing is that we know they have the right character and that they've been looking into that, and I feel strongly that they have, and that it's not something we have to worry about too. But as well, yeah, the environment aspect of that is important too. We should be fostering an environment that supports these players so they're not so worried about when they arrive about like having to succeed. It might also help the fact that we've made Cunha for 60 million and Bumo for 70 million, Sesko for 65 million in the same summer, because then it's like, well, they're all big signings. They all have to work out. It's not singling out one guy, where a lot of times we buy like one young player for enormous amounts of money and then pray. So there's that too in reducing the pressure. Kazmob, thank you for welcome to the Pro Muppet. Thank you as well. Yes, we'll get to Hojlund because it's something I really want to talk about. Let's move on to Garnacho here. Obviously, Garnacho has moved forward towards a move to Chelsea. He has agreed personal terms with them. They've always really been kind of waiting for him, right? At the end of the day, he's been like the main guy that he's been waiting all summer for for Chelsea to come in for him. Garnacho has been waiting the entire summer for Chelsea to come in for him. Now they're finally coming into him. Let me rephrase everything I just said. And while I do that, let me put this poll up for likes, because I must be tired. It must be Friday, because there are things I'm saying that I'm not meaning to say.
Smash the like, guys.
Thank you,
biceps
Raki. Appreciate
emoji,
that.
beer
First
emoji.
your wife, now Garnacho. Yesterday I did like 4 videos. I think I did about 4 hours of stuff. Today I'm already on 2.5 because I did the United View. It's great to see them do 200K, get to 200K subscribers. I'm really proud of those guys. Love those guys very much. And you guys helped a lot in having the speakers come on yesterday, and to carry things forward, and I needed that. So let's pause. Let's stop. Let's pause. Let's stop, and let's rephrase what I just said. Okay, Garnacho. He's been waiting all summer for Chelsea to sign him. Chelsea have always been his preferred destination. He wanted to stay in England. He was prioritizing them. He wanted to go to Chelsea. I'm not totally sure why, because he might be joining them to be the 8th choice winger. It's really hard to say when you look at how they're signing players and what they are doing. But he's always been waiting for them. Chelsea have been putting it on the back burner, simply because they want to pressure United into accepting a lower price for him. And yes, he did want to even go back in January. Garnacho has wanted to leave United for basically a year, despite what people have said, and that's why I've always been a bit anti-Garnacho, is that I want players who are committed to the club, not players who are always looking to leave. He's been looking to leave for quite some time. Chelsea are in for him to sign him now. They've agreed personal terms, and there's an expectation that they'll make an offer soon. They might send in a serious low ball for Hojlund Garnacho right now. I think around 30 to 35 million, and they're going to hope we'll accept that because we're desperate, and that then maybe they'll up it later on. I'm not sure what United will do. If we need the money in order to get Baleba in, then United might accept a lower deal than expected to speed things up. Obviously, we would like to get higher. I believe that United would be aiming to get 40 plus add-ons, and that would become acceptable. But they will definitely lowball first. There is no doubt about that. So Garnacho, he's wanted to leave all year. He's been waiting for Chelsea since January when he was looking to go to them then. He's been waiting for them all summer. He's been turning down deals elsewhere. They're probably going to lowball an offer for him. They've agreed personal terms with him, but we are expecting an offer to come in soon. The question is, should United accept a lowball offer if it helps us move on another deal? I totally get why people would say, well, he's worth a hell of a lot more than 35, 40 million. He's worth 50, 55 if you look at it in the market. Totally is. But what he's worth and what you can get are two different questions. What he's worth and how desperate Chelsea are two different questions. What he's worth and what you will get because he wants to leave and he's not in the squad and all of these reasons and you're trying to fix the culture are two different questions. So United will be taking, one way or another, probably less than his value. If that means we can move for a midfielder, I would take 30, 35 million. I don't care. It's the same as I would say I would pay whatever it takes for a player. I would accept whatever it takes to get a player out of the squad that gives us more money to make another purchase that we need in order to get back into where we need to be as a club and sign the best players. I just don't care about those things. It's not that big of a deal to me. It doesn't bother me. Yes, we could get more, but so what? Maybe we can't get more. That's the question. So that's the situation with Garnacho. Maybe we can get more. Maybe we can't. It's like if we can't get more, then so be it. You know what I mean? If we can't get a deal, then we get nothing. You know what I mean? If Chelsea don't pay for him and we get nothing, then so what? Then what? Then we get no money. Then we can't sell him. Then he sits and he rots and he goes on loan like Sancho for some crap option or something like that. That doesn't help us. That doesn't help us. But we're trying to clean house. I think the value of cleaning house and in the meantime getting some money for a young player is worth it. Accept whatever you got to accept for Garnacho. Get him out of the club and go and get a midfielder. That's my view. I think it's the right thing to do. Manchester United are not a selling club. We don't need to sell players for huge profits. We don't need to sell players for lots of money. We simply need to win games, build a good squad, and stay in Europe. We don't need sales revenue. We never have, and we shouldn't ever again. When are we going to be selling players for profit? Why? If we're selling players for profit, then they failed. We don't need failures. Let's just be successful and build a better team and put priority 1, building the best team. Priority 635, getting good sale value for players. Who cares? We don't need that money. We're not a small club. We're not a selling club. Let's just get the money we need to build the best team possible. That's my view. You guys could agree or disagree. I could not give a shit about it, frankly. I just want the player to go. And I just want some money in order to, I just want money in. Here, look, I got another view on it. You can say we're setting an example for people who are at the club who want out. You know what my feeling is? If they don't want to be here, get them the fuck gone. Look at the culture we're creating. Look at the environment we're creating. If they don't want to be here, get them out. But I have maintained that view for years. When Pogba wanted to leave 4 or 5 years ago now, I wanted him gone, and I liked Pogba. Because I said, just go. The minute a player wants to leave, get them gone. When you're at a big club, a big institution, a serious one, you cannot keep people who don't want to be there. They drag you down, and they will pull you down with them. Just get out. Just go. The minute somebody doesn't want to be there, see you later. Because why? So we hold out to get a few more dollars. So what? The minute they don't want to be there, I don't want them there. That's fine for me. I run businesses the same way. The minute someone wants to leave, it's not even a bad blood thing. If someone doesn't want to be in the job, remove them immediately. Don't wait time. Don't give them months. Don't do anything that. Thank you. Here's your severance. See you later. I'll get someone new. Because culture is everything and commitment is everything. And that's how it should be. I get the argument on Rooney, but I'll make a small counter argument as Rooney being one of my favorite players of all time. Maybe my favorite player of all time. He probably should have left then. After that new contract, his career went down pretty drastically, did it not? Pretty quickly. He maybe had a year or two later, but he moved pretty fast. His career fell off pretty quickly after that. There's arguments to be made. It might have been the right time to let Rooney go. And that was at a time when we should have reinvested the money. But it was also a bit of a different reason why he wanted to leave as well. And he'd also already accomplished so much. And it was a very, very different situation. Maybe I was talking about the second time. Maybe I'm thinking more about the second time. But earlier on, for sure, part of it was he saw the decline of the club, and that they hadn't had that ambition. This is different than that, in my opinion, for sure. I do get that, by the way. That is a fair point where it takes a little bit of context, probably. The second time, though, yeah, I mean, but yeah, I get that too. That part of it was probably, yeah, contextual. He was concerned about the direction of the club. Garnacho is not wanting to leave because the club's not investing. Neither is Anthony, neither are these guys. It's just different. So, all right, let's move on to Rasmus Hojlund.
Fergie wanted us to sell Rooney in 2013. He saw
Yeah,
the
which would have been right, yeah.
Moyes and Wood were too scared and then offered new deal.
Yes, that's the time I was more speaking about, by the way. I know it happened on a couple of occasions. The first time was a little different. The second time was, I think, the right time. Let's talk about Senior Rasmus Hojlund here now. It's time. Rasmus Hojlund. There was an article that just came out as well from Simon Stone confirming Milan are keen on it. Loan fee plus option to buy is being presented. There are multiple clubs with interest. United are willing to negotiate his release. Now, I've been telling you this for some days now, that this is real, that the Milan thing is real, that there are multiple clubs. I said when we were in talks with Leipzig about it, I said we talked with Leipzig, but there are at least a few other clubs also interested at that time. There are more clubs interested than AC Milan as well. Here's the situation we have right now with Rasmus Hojlund, the unfortunate, and it is a bit of a difficult and unfortunate situation, and I'm trying to find out a bit more about it from the player's perspective too, because I have my own, I have info and I have things that I hear and all that, but some of that is from one side, obviously. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about that. That some of it is one-sided. It's a little bit harder to gauge the exact specifics of Rasmus Hojlund and himself. But here's where we stand today. United have a deal pretty much on the table from Milan that they would likely be okay with. It has a loan fee, it has wages covered, and it has a decent buy option at the end. There are other clubs that are interested that would be willing to make permanent deals. However, Rasmus Hojlund himself is not yet at all convinced about leaving. And if he does leave, even there, as I've heard it, he's opened the door a little bit to going out on loan, but has still completely said no to a permanent deal as of this moment in time. Now, the club have to push on that a bit more. The club have to probably have more discussions. The club have to probably make it more clear if they're going to get him to agree. But a loan seems definitely a lot more plausible than a permanent deal at this point in time. And the main reason the club are considering a loan and are more open to a loan is because it may be the only way that Rasmus moves on this year. Now, that could get the club 10 million in savings, as well as a potential sale in the following summer if he performs or increases value or something like that. There are more discussions to be had. There is not agreement between Rasmus's people and Milan or anything like that at this point in time. So it's up in the air as to where this ends at this point in time. But as far as I know, in the current stance, again, this is from one side, not necessarily both sides. So I would hope to I want to find out more about this, because I do think on something like this, you need multiple perspectives. Like you need to hear from multiple perspectives, not just one, to get the full picture. That his side is pretty damn solid on nothing more than a loan at most. But yeah, part of the consideration here, being quite honest with all of you guys, is that he thinks he can make it at United in the long term. And there's people at United that are still there that believed he could make it, and have probably said as such to him. But those same people are all in agreement it's probably not going to happen at United. It's the wrong time, wrong place. It's a complicated topic. It's a complicated topic. And it's easy to say, just leave and all of that, which I think they'll probably have to do. I think a loan with wages covered and a good option at the end of it is probably the best route. But it's really going to depend on these conversations between United and him. Let's look at tomorrow. You know what I mean? If he doesn't play, again, doesn't start, again, obviously it's a point where you can make it clear you're not the guy. You're not going to be the guy. You're not playing. Once Sesko arrives, there's really nowhere for you to be. Will Xerxes be back in the squad? Will he even get minutes? You know what I mean? Like, these are unknowns. There are ways to do it that work. And look, you can say put him in the bomb squad and all of that. I hear you. But at the same time, the bomb squad is for people that they specifically said have wanted to leave. Rasmus doesn't want to leave. It's a bit of a different topic. It's a challenging situation, isn't it? Because you can feel for the player, but he's also got to realize his best career move is to leave United right now and go play somewhere else, especially somewhere like AC Milan. It's actually quite a good move that could give you a really good chance at being successful. You know, a lot of players have gone to, you know, Italy from here and been really good. So, you know, it's different. It is different. There's good players there. There's good players that will to play there. It's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity anyway, regardless, for him, and he should hopefully accept it. I think that there's a good portion of this whole situation that, of course, is also United's fault, and he will feel that way. But I think he's too far gone when I watch him. Like I said this morning on my video, I'm not calling him selfish. I'm trying to say how it is without being like overly critical of the individual, because I interacted with him in the mix zone on a couple of occasions. And it's like, I don't think he's a bad kid. I don't think he's like actively destructive to the team or something like that. But he's incredibly insecure, is the truth of it, unfortunately. He's quite insecure. And that's a bad position to be in. He's so far in his own head, worried about his life, his career, his position at United, that everything that happens, he like it becomes about him, you know, in that instance. It becomes about him. When he scores a goal, it's all about him. Like, oh yes, this will help my career at United. This will help me make it at United. When he doesn't score, oh, this is going to mess up my time at United. When he does score, he goes out, wants to talk to the media like, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make it. Like, these are weird behaviors. I'm not even saying bad behaviors, but it's like, it is insecurity at an extremely high level, unfortunately. And it can be hard to come back from that. And it can be hard to accept, like, you're not going to make it at United. And he's very young, and it's a lot of pressure, and it's a difficult situation, and he's a United fan. So it's rough. I honestly feel for him, but that doesn't mean he'll make it at United. You know what I mean? Although those things can be true, doesn't mean he should stay. It's a tough business, and the standards have to be really, really high at United. Unfortunately, they have to be so high. Some of the things that he's done are still in the wrong, you know, on that, because you still have to walk away from that and understand that you're playing in a team. It's not it can't be I needed that. It's what does the team need? And unfortunately, you can get it backwards when you focus too much on yourself and not the team. It makes it worse, and it makes it harder, and it makes the pressure a lot more than if you just focused on the team than yourself. So it is wrong. Even though those feelings are hard to get past, it is wrong, frankly. You need to be team focused. You need to be thinking about what's best for the collective, not yourself, when you're playing games, when you're on the pitch, before that, because that will help you actually be more successful than if you're thinking about just yourself. It feels awkward, but it's like people get into that situation and then they try overdo it, and then it gets harder and harder to climb out of that hole. But anyway, regardless, Rasmus Hojlund has his serious doubts about leaving.
Don't understand how Milan were prepared to go bid for Nunez, but for Hojlund and United there no cash. Not even an obligation. Is this beneficial?
It would help us. It still saves us a good 10 million this year and would give an option next year. So, in summary, Rasmus Hojlund, hold on.
Wharton not fit Amorim's system because he is a DLP?
Not necessarily true. I'm going to get to the midfield in like 2 seconds. Okay? Rasmus Hojlund, unsure if he wants to leave. Pretty much mostly only opening the door to a loan at this point in time rather than a permanent deal. Milan loan offers pretty much on the table, but not agreed to him by yet. There's going to be more discussions between United and him over his situation moving forward and where we go from here. There are other clubs interested, and there are even permanent deals on the table, but he's not really open to those at this point in time. United probably would accept a loan simply because it's maybe the only thing that moves Rasmus and gets him potentially in the light and maybe turning his career around, which would just benefit everybody. So more discussions to be had before this one concludes. Me personally, I would just do the loan. I would just let him go. United will get somewhere in the range of 8 to 10 million saved over the course of the year, and can utilize that money, that PSR space, to help. And maybe by next year he can be successful, whether it's there and they purchase him, whether he has a great time in Milan or somewhere like that and wants to stay afterwards. Maybe that'll be what happens. So that's what we've got. Let's move on to the midfield. Baleba and the midfield. Obviously, Baleba, every second that goes by that it's not off is a good moment. Every second that goes by that we don't rule it out, we have to think that it is still potentially on or being explored. Right now, United are focused on getting Benjamin Sesko all done, announced, and ready to go. Right now, they're focused on some of the potential sales, the Rasmus situation, the Garnacho situation, and what happens with that. The more that they resolve these things, like Garnacho, Hojlund, and everything, the more flexibility they have in kind of an approach for Baleba, the more they can kind of explore whether this deal is doable or not. I think we'll know in the next few days if it's doable. And I don't think the doability of it, I'm not saying that the price doesn't make it more difficult, but the doability of the deal, I think, has a little bit less to do with the price, or maybe the attemptability of the deal has a little bit less to do with the price and a little more to do with, are Brighton even going to entertain a discussion? And some of that might simply come down to them having to figure out what is a big offer we can put in place. Okay. God, I was about to make an analogy, and it's a really good comparison, actually, but it could come across as so bad. There's a movie, anyway, where someone makes an offer. I'm not going to get into the details because because it sounds really bad in this kind of context. But there is a movie about them deciding a strategy to make an effort to make an offer that will get someone's interest, right? Where they probably wouldn't even listen if they'd made somewhat of a lower offer or if they were just inquiring about the situation. But instead, making a ridiculous offer gets their attention. It's actually a good analogy, but yeah, we're not going to talk about the movie because the subject matter is not for YouTube. It's not Indecent Proposal, actually. It's much more recent than that. Much more recent than that. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, someone's got it now. Anyway, we'll yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so United might have to make a big offer, somewhat blind, in order to get the phone to be answered, essentially, in order to, kind of make a deal. So, in order to get this to happen, and it's unknown. Now, what about this Wharton Baleba stuff? All right, I know it's indie, and all of that, but the truth of the matter is of course United have been interested in United have been interested in Wharton for a long time. I've been covering this Wharton interest for frickin' ages. You know what I mean? Ages and ages. We've known that Wharton is one of the main guys. Now, here's what I do find interesting. Okay, here's what I do find interesting. Okay, let's take a look at it. I'm gonna go back to the early information that I had. Is that, firstly, if I go all the way back to March, there was a point where we were potentially looking at 2 midfielders. Then you go forward, and United were intending to sign. This is what was weird. This is why I was always having trouble figuring it out. Because the 2 main names I always heard were Ederson and Wharton. Now, Ederson and Wharton are 2 very different players. They play kind of 2 different positions. They'd actually make a really good partnership, Ederson and Wharton, by the way, in an Amarin midfield. But so would Baleba and Wharton would make almost a perfect partnership as well. for Ruben Amorim midfield. You have one who's a bit more of a runner, ground coverage, gets about, can actually be a bit more of a wrecking ball, and you have a bit more of the sitter who distributes, passes the ball well, and shields the back line. So when I look at the information that I've had on this for some time, I kind of get the idea they've had their eye on, like that they've had their eye on two different types of midfielders for a while, right? Two different types of midfielders for a while. One being, potentially more of the sitting type. And let's take a look at. I'll try to use this chart to show, but like Baleba's anyway, they're very, very different. If you look at them from like a progressive passing situation here, I'll show you that. Progressive passes per 90, you get Wharton as like a super passer, whereas Baleba is more on the other side of it in terms of like carrying the ball and things like that. I look at them kind of positionally, they're not that different positionally, different systems and things like that as well. But the fact of the matter is that, in an Amorim system, you kind of want one to be a bit more of a sitter, shielding the defense, good on the ball, and one to be a bit more of a wrecker. And if you want to think about a good comparison to other midfields that have existed, if you want to think about one of the comparisons to it, Matic and Conte is a good comparison in terms of a partnership that more reflects the similarities to Ruben Amorim's style of midfield that might work in the Premier League. The problem that we've had is an odd one here a little bit, which is that people will reject this, but I've said it for quite a long time, and then you're going to hate me saying this as well. But one of the issues we've had with Ugarte, at least the view within, is that it may have more to do with his partner than with him. Not saying he's perfect, but if you take what we've seen, when Ugarte's running around tackling, wreaking havoc, maybe jumping in over aggressively into tackles and things like that, who's sitting behind him? Nobody. There is nobody. Ugarte is definitely not a sitter. He's definitely not a midfield shield. There's no doubt about that. Okay? Not at all. He's just not. But there's been plenty of concerns with these other aspects of it. Out of possession. Kobbie and Bruno are poor out of possession. I'm sorry to say. They just are. They don't support their midfield partners out of possession quite well at all. When you look at the different dynamic with like Bruno and Casemiro and why often he moves to that dynamic, Casemiro kind of plays a bit like the shield these days, with Bruno being a bit more of the chaos maker defensively and out of possession. And if you put the mixture together, it doesn't quite fit, okay? The problem you have with, for example, Wharton, and why Baleba is a better fit this summer for sure, is that Baleba can kind of do everything. If you need Baleba to sit deeper and shield, he'll do that, and you can let someone else be chaotic. That's why he and Casemiro work very well. Exactly, Asa. Exactly. You have that exact thing down. That's why Casemiro Ugarte was our best midfield. Shielder, aggressor. You could allow Ugarte to be more aggressive because you had another player that could be a bit more of a shield who could pick up the ball a little bit deeper, distribute play a little bit more from deeper.
Imagine Kobbie to be developed as Bruno's successor as his better version and Baleba/Wharton type player beside him.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. That would be a good way for Kobbie to roam. I know the problem, and the problem is we have no ideal midfield partnerships. You can blame everything you want on Ugarte in an Ugarte Menu or Ugarte Bruno midfield.
Baleba
you can blame them all you want.
Wharton next. Worried ABT Kobe.
Right, that could be the idea. You can do that if you want. You're still wrong. because there's, firstly, why is Ugarte in a midfield with Kobe? I'm going to ask you guys a question. In a midfield with Kobe or Bruno next to Ugarte, why is it Ugarte receiving the ball deep? It shouldn't be, by the way. It should be the other player receiving the ball deep. Why is that happening? Because that's just not his strength in the slightest. In fact, Ugarte is better the higher up the pitch you get, and worse the deeper down the pitch you get, right? I think everybody could agree with that. The further into the attack you go, the better Ugarte is. And the closer you are to your own goal, the worse Ugarte is. Okay? The problem is that you've not often seen the support from Mainu or Bruno because their defensive discipline is not necessarily the best case scenario, so they're not usually deep enough when we kind of are getting the ball. Sometimes we would see Kobe and Bruno drop in deep, receive the ball, and that works better. If Kobe can develop into a player that receives the ball off of the back line, picks it up, drives it forward, and all of that, and plays a bit more as a shield too, then it would be good. The problem is we just don't have an ideal partnership in this situation as of now. If we had Baleba, for example, Baleba is good enough to do either kind of role, frankly. Kobe can do that, but his out-of-possession work needs a lot of improvement, which Ruben Amorim has commented on multiple occasions, okay? He does. He needs to improve. You could say sell Ugarte. That just makes the problem worse. Bruno Mainu would be one of the worst possible midfields we could do. Like, you're talking about two different sides of the game that have to work. Bruno and Mainu is never going to work. It would be crazy to say that would work. Like, so that's not the answer. Isn't selling? You're not going to improve the situation by selling Ugarte. You're going to make it worse because then you don't have either thing work, right? So it doesn't get you anywhere. And that's a bit of an issue. Ugarte being Baleba coming in would be very good deep because not only does he have the better defensive awareness, he can receive the ball deeper, he can turn under pressure, he's more press resistant, and he can be the right guy. If you got Baleba and you also brought in Wharton later, then Baleba could shift to the more destructive role. And that would work too. And that's why Baleba is much more necessary than Wharton this summer, because Baleba is the more flexible player. If you get Wharton in, you're still going to have some problems if you were to play, say, Wharton and Bruno, for example. It has, in theory, it could work. But it's not necessarily ideal. There's not necessarily enough legs and ground coverage in there to make it work. So it's a complicated kind of situation. It really is, because we don't have the ideal thing. Who would you pair Baleba with? Anybody. That's why Baleba is such a good purchase. Baleba you could pair with anybody right now, and it would be their best combination instantly, right? Baleba would be the best, no matter what you do. Baleba with anyone would be the best combination.
Ugarte is more of a Muppet. We don't really have a six.
Correct. Exactly that. Correct. Anybody that Baleba partnered with would work better. In big games, I would play Baleba and Ugarte. In other games, I would play Baleba and Bruno. And then Kobe rotating in either way. And it would give you probably the dynamic that you would want, frankly. In the long term, though, if you went for Wharton as well, then you'd go like Wharton and Baleba, but then you'd have plenty of options to mix and match in there. Casemiro is the closest to like a Wharton right now, basically, that we have in the team. Hence, it's like, it's complicated, man. It's complicated, but we don't have an ideal pairing at the moment.
United should hold firm. Say permanent for Anthony or cut negotiations and tell Anthony it's dub C year. Same with Sancho.
Yeah.
Same with Chelsea valuation.
Well, I hear you, but I think they should just move them on, frankly. Like, it's not the players that can force the purchase from the other team. You know what I mean? It's not the players that can do that. They can't force the other teams to make big offers. You know, they can open their eyes to other teams though. But I hear the opinion, but I still
Isn't
think we should
Wharton more of a day LP?
Yeah, sort of. I don't know. He's just good on the ball. He's just a really good passer. He's kind of, again, more similar to Nemanja Matic. I would use that as a comparison. More similar to Nemanja Matic. The thing is, though, this is a really challenging discussion. I'm going to be honest with you guys. And the part of the reason it's a really challenging discussion is that people don't want to accept that Kobbie Mainoo has not lit things up yet. I'm sorry to say that. And you can say that's the fault of the system. You can say that's the fault of this. You can say it's the fault of that. Kobbie Mainoo is incredibly talented. He's not even close to Wharton or Baleba at this point in time. I'm sorry, but he isn't. In terms of what he's been able to put out on the pitch on a match day, he hasn't. And it's really, really hard for people to accept that yet. And so we try to blame everybody else for some of these things too, when really the responsibility is shared in why our midfield has failed over the last little bit. You know, he's shown the talent to do it. He's shown the talent to do it. But he hasn't put out that talent consistently in performance. He just hasn't. And
spot on Mainoo.
I'm sorry, he hasn't. He hasn't put out the intensity. He hasn't put out the energy. And I've been saying that doesn't mean I think Mainoo isn't the future. You got it, so don't get that wrong.
It's funny that we are ready to break our transfer record again for the same position.
To be fair, if we're going to do it, then a deep midfielder is probably the best position to break that record in my opinion. He did it under Ten Hag for like a couple months. And then it was more injuries and more difficulties, more things. Ruben Amorim said himself in his press conference in Chicago the first day that I was there. He says he needs to improve on his speed of action, on intensity, on these types of things, right? He has the talent. He has not put it together yet. He hasn't. And it has nothing to do with the coach. You can say he's way better than Wharton, but he's not. I'm sorry. He has not. Adam Wharton's second half of last season was incredible. It just was. You've just got to put it together. I think Kobbie can be better. Kobbie can be better. But you're talking about potential versus what someone has actually put together as of yet. He's young and he can be that guy. But this is where these conversations get uncomfortable. Because people don't want to accept that. People don't want to accept that. That's not saying he can't be. That's not saying he won't be. I think he can be. I think he will be. But he's not there yet. He's just not there yet. He's just not. And like, people, if you can get that aspect, then that's the truth of the matter. It's hard. It's hard to see it. In terms of consistency in the Premier League, I'd never say what do you mean I never say it on Twitter? Hold on. What do you mean on Twitter? Like, Twitter's a real place. Firstly, I try to be nicer to players, and I try not to even be critiquing much at all lately on Twitter, because I just think it's a weird place. Ruben Amorim says Kobbie Mainoo can play in both positions in the midfield. His perfect position is near the ball. Needs to increase the rhythm, the pace, have big plans. The competition is going to be huge. Interesting, he says that competition is going to be huge. Sounds like we might sign somebody. Amorim's only drawback on playing Mainoo next to Ugarte is that he doesn't have the legs for that position. I've said that back in April. It's just the truth. I don't know what else to say. He's young. Like I said, people got to be able to accept criticism without taking it as like the be all end all of things. Like when you respond, he's 20. It's like, yeah, I'm not making a judgment on his existence. I'm not passing judgment on Kobbie Mainoo as a human being for the rest of his life. We're talking about today. We're just talking about like right this minute. That was opinion. Some of those were opinions. Some of those were info. Some of those were opinions. Some of those were info. So, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, he can improve for sure. And I think he will. Like I said many times a couple weeks ago, and insisted on it, I see Kobbie Mainoo as the successor to Bruno in the long term. And if he can grow and improve upon certain areas of how he plays, like pace, like his speed, like his intensity, like his stamina, which are some weaknesses he has in his game, then I think he can be unbelievable. But as of yet, he's got to improve and show this season that he can do those things. And he can be that guy. And that'll help. And I hope that he will. And I think he will. I think he'll prove it. I think in the long term, he can be that guy. That doesn't mean there aren't players who are, because I don't think Bruno's the right profile deep anyway. They're different, but Bruno is a different player. I didn't say I said Mainoo right now hasn't put it together as well as Wharton or Baleba. That's the fact. He has not put it together in the Premier League on a consistent basis as much as Wharton or Baleba has. That's the truth. Whether he's better or not is a different question. What you have and what you've put together is different. That's the point. You know, that's the reality of it. There are different views on this. I think that he will work hard and he will get into the situation. It's not about who's a better player or not. There's so much context. Like, we try to make these really stupid, clean comparisons about, like, X player's better than this player or not. But when they're 20 years old, that's not how it works. It's like there are players who haven't put it together on the pitch yet and who haven't consistently shown it yet versus talents and things like that. We've had the same argument with Garnacho. I mean, people are sitting there screaming about Garnacho all year about how Garnacho is one of the best talents in the world. When? Doesn't matter if you can't do it, if you can't put it out there. That's why nobody's buying him. That's why we might have to accept 30 million for him. Just because he might have the talent, people not been able to separate the ability to have a talent from the ability to put it together on the pitch and express it consistently. Januzaj was one of the most talented players we ever had. Didn't get anywhere. Jesse Lingard was a talented player. Dele Alli was one of the best players ever. Look what and for different reasons, all of this. But there's a difference between being a very good player and having the talent and actually making it. Some make it, some don't. I think Kobbie will make it. And I think he will. Ravel Morrison is another example. There's different reasons for this, but these things happen. He's got Kobbie Mainoo can be one of the best players. He hasn't put it together yet on the pitch in the Premier League, and hopefully he will. So, you know, that's where the discussions, when you talk about young players, I don't care, like, who's better, who's this, who's that. Wharton and Baleba have put it together at a high level in the Premier League already. That doesn't make them better players in the long term. But, you know, it happens. So it's just an interesting debate, frankly. It's just an interesting debate. It's just an interesting debate in terms of what's going to happen in the long term in this midfield. I could see a world where Baleba and Wharton are ideal two midfielders, and we still move on Bruno later on in time, and we end up with Wharton and Baleba as the two midfielders in an ideal world. They're two different kind of positions there. But when you watch the midfield this year, before we sign Baleba, because hopefully we sign Baleba. Hopefully we do, of course. People really want to pin our whole midfield problems down to one person. They really do. And they're wrong to do that. It's just always been the case. It's unfortunate, but we really really want to pin it down on one person, and it's never like that. You know, whenever you like, if you go back and watch like for example, like the Everton preseason game, even though rating things off a preseason game is silly, right? What happened in that game? Ugarte makes mistakes. Ugarte's chaotic with his tackling. If you watch every one of those clips, you will not see Bruno or Mainu contributing off the ball, not once. And they're the partner. One of them at either time is the partner in there. So while one player is making big mistakes, the other player is non-existent. That's not good either. And when Bruno makes his mistake after Ugarte's already come off the pitch, by the way, and Casemiro goes flying in and does nothing, they're not helping each other. The midfield, the problems that we have are not pinned on one player. It is a combination of the fact that we have not got players who are willing enough to do the dirty work together and work together on it. Not a lot of players want to do the ugly work, and that is something that goes under the radar. Players have to be more willing to do the ugly work. When Bruno plays deep, he needs to be more willing and not out of control so that he can do the dirty work as well in that midfield, because in a 2, you're going to have to. And part of the problem is that the game isn't start-stop. It plays in transitions. If you go nuts and lose the ball up high, you're not going to get back to help. And then at the same time, you're not going to be there in order to help in the build-up either. And it's going to isolate your other players in these positions too. So it's a big sword out for Ruben Amorim, and it's why Baleba would solve a lot of problems, because you could put him in that deeper role and he'd be the best deep midfielder we have, bar none, by a massive margin. Then you could partner him with whoever's going to do the damn work aside from next to him, and hopefully that works out, and then you have options. So Baleba's perfect in that respect. He will be. That's why we need to get him, because without him, I don't think we have any good midfield pairing. Frankly, I think we have ones that'll work, but they're all suboptimal for one reason or another, and it's because of both players, not just one. So anyway, but Wharton is somebody United really like, and I think that in the end we'll likely want to do both. Something similar to that in the long term.
Did you see the ESPN article that said City might come in for Baleba if our talks with Brighton show progress?
Yeah, I think that we could do that. Yeah. I think they could come in for him, but I don't think we're particularly worried about that. They've got a lot of signings, a lot of midfielders. Right now they have Rodri. I don't think he's going to bench Rodri, and I don't think he's going to play next to Rodri. So I don't think it's all gonna. I'm not particularly worried about that, and I honestly think United would win in a race against City for someone like Baleba. So yeah, that's that. We'll see what happens. Again, United will move forward more on Baleba a bit later. Certainly. It is funny though. The most balanced system right now would be Casemiro and Ugarte, just as it was last year, that won the most games and had the best win rate, just because it reflects the dynamics properly. We don't have any other reflection of the dynamics of that without
Atalanta's Ederson?
Without that. Ederson's really good, but I think he's much more attacking than Baleba, but so I think he doesn't solve the deep problem. He just gives us another player that could do the same role, that we have a few players that could do it already. I think that's kind of the concern with him. I don't think he gives us that deeper one. And the problem, of course, with Casemiro and Ugarte is then you have to put Bruno up front, and then we have all these forwards. So when you stick Bruno in there, at the end of the day, you create a bit of a problem. And I think Baleba would be the best, would solve a lot of those problems more than anybody else can. And I think the 10s coming deeper solves a lot of those problems as well. But look, right now, it's hard to rule anything out just because what the hell can these guys do in this system? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Bruno shouldn't play. He has to play. But he does need to be a lot better off the ball. Like, what he did for that second goal off the ball was just as bad as any mistake Ugarte made. Now he's offering a lot more going the other direction, and it's Bruno. But he can't be doing that in the midfield too. He's got to do more. He's got to help more. He just has to. And I like when he drops back deep to assist in the build-up and become the deeper midfielder versus like an Ugarte or something like that when they put them together. I like when he does that. I think that helps us more, provides that kind of stability and things like that. So Bruno just has to calm down. But at the same time, I think what happened in that game specifically with Bruno as well is that because he started more forward, he was in like attack mode. He wasn't in the mode of having like runners ahead of him. And so he was still in like number 10 mode when he needed to be in number 8 mode. So I would, if we're going to play him in number 8 mode, I like to have us stop starting him in the number 10 mode because it's a totally different role with a totally different job description. And so he needs to, I hope we start him in the 8 because I thought Bruno adjusted really well to that position and helped a lot in times past as well. So, yeah, got high hopes. I think when he plays the 10, he loses that discipline that he gets when he often starts deeper. So, but then we also, again, Cunha, the Mbumo, them all dropping deep will help a lot. But yeah, hard to rule anything out when it comes to United in this window, given everything that's happened so far. On to Fiorentina, which is a good point to bring up. What do you guys want to see? Is relevant to this whole discussion. It is relevant to this entire discussion. You know, what do we want to see against? What about goalkeeper? We still might make a goalkeeper, but there's nothing new on that at the moment. There's nothing new on that at the moment, at all. Frankly, there's like absolutely nothing. There's nothing new on the goalkeeper that I can say from the last few days ago. We haven't had a good effective midfield since Ander, Matic, and Pogba. And if you think about Ander, Matic, and Pogba as an alignment, it's not actually that different to what Ruben is trying to build. The problem is we have no Matic. Casemiro's the closest. Herrera was an energy ball. It wasn't just because it's a midfield 3, because the team forms a midfield 3 many times when it drops into a 4-4-2 anyways, when the 10s drop in. The problem is we don't have the same dynamics of players.
I think Bruno will be 10 tomorrow because I don't think Rasmus will PLA.
I would tend to agree, Samix, for sure. I would tend to agree with you. I would absolutely tend to agree with you. That'll probably happen. But let's vote. Let's take a look at it, because this is certainly relevant to this whole discussion. Let's do our poll. It's almost the game. Let's go with striker. Do you guys want to see Rasmus? Is Xerxes going to be fit? I don't know. We actually have absolutely no idea. Rasmus, Cunha. Or we'll do like Cunha / Mbumo because it's actually quite flexible. Let's assume. Let's assume Xerxes isn't fit, guys, because we haven't, and I don't. There's like absolutely, like basically no chance that Sesko can be available. There's no. He's not going to be available. So yeah, let's just measure it as. Let's just do it as Rasmus or Cunha and Mbumo for tomorrow. I'd be tempted to say Rasmus just because I really don't want to keep seeing Cunha and Mbumo at the 9, and I'd rather see the basic system. But at the same time, they need to get to kind of push Rasmus out the door, probably, too. So, complicated. Well, did Fabrizio do a video on Baleba? It's tough, man. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you guys. Like, we should let the 10s play in their best position because that's how we need to play football. So it's a tough decision, to be honest. It's a nothing. We're just in contact. Look, we'll push on this a little bit later. Again, every minute that it's not off, it's on. That's the important part. Okay. We're not doing a 3-5-2, guys. I mean, it's not that different to a 3-5-2 when you play with Bruno in the front 3 because there's a lot of dropping in. Like, the position is the formation's not that important. Our formation is like, formations are fake, man. Formations are fake. It's not a Bruno false 9. Whatever position you put Bruno in the front 3, he's going to end up in the same spot. Realize that. In the front 3. It's just the personnel you put on the pitch. The personnel you put on the pitch pretty much determine the formation for the most part. The players you put out, their tendencies is what really creates the formation more than anything else. Like, when we did it against Everton, it was like, who was the striker? I don't know. There was times it was a 4-4-2. There was times it was a 3-4-3. There was times it was a 3-4-2-1. There was times it was a 3-5-2. There was times it was lots of different things. It just changes a lot. Oh shit! Crashed. My video, my page crashed. All right, we're gonna put Rasmus in here. It was damn close, but we're gonna put Rasmus in here. And to be honest, to a degree, I can't. Ugarte plays as the shield for Uruguay in a 3, but his partner is Bentancur for the most part, from what I recall. He's got a few partners, but one of the things you have to bear in mind, Gary, about Uruguay, because I've watched Ugarte play a lot for Uruguay. His partner works his fucking ass off too. Bentancur is a much better out of possession player than Kabi and Bruno in terms of defensive work, like all over the place. Bentancur is a workhorse, is an absolute dog, and the whole Uruguay team is, frankly. That changes things to a degree. Yeah. Look, the Baleba one is going to be slow, and Bentancur can often receive the ball off the back line a bit better. He usually does, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen Ugarte play as the center back for Uruguay. I've seen him play as all sorts of positions, but Bentancur is an actual freak out of possession. Yeah, exactly. He really is. Like, very, very underrated out of possession, what he does. So you get two really hard workers in there. And Ugarte is very often not the guy receiving the ball from the back, by the way. Like, almost never for Uruguay. All right. Let's go with the 10s then. Cunha and Mbumo, it's not even going to be a question. I think we all know what team we're going to be watching here. We have a shot, Hamza. If there's a... We need to... Step by step. We do have a shot. We do have a shot. me see if there's anything unique. Maintain contact, still very complicated. Require very, very big bid. Make their approach slowly. Yeah, it's fine. It's what we know. This is what we know. This is what we know. Let's see what happens, man. It's still just moving forward slightly. Like I said earlier in the video, we're going through the steps. He's on board. We're in touch with him. See if we can figure out a price, get our other situations sorted, and I think at some point we'll come forward with a big proposal and see what happens. They may shut it down at that point in time, or it may open things up. And that's the steps that we're going through at this point. We haven't yet come forward to make that proposal. We're not ready, but we're there. We're there, essentially. We're there to look at this situation and figure it out. I think the challenge here is, what is the right proposal? What is the right proposal to make? I think that's going to be the key. Like, I don't think we're going to get a solid price from Brighton, like an exact figure. I don't think that's going to happen. And so I think we are going to be going into it a little bit blind and having to say, what is a proposal? Like I gave with my analogy earlier, what's the proposal that gets their interest and attention? What's the deal that we have to put forward that doesn't have them hang up and say, call back next year? That's the question. And that's probably what they're considering, and probably what we will hope that we'll get some sales for at this point in time. Yeah. No, I saw the update. I believe we think we're going to have to do a 90 million plus to get them to answer the phone. Yeah. And I think we know that, frankly. And I think that's why we haven't walked away from it. So it's just moving slowly, guys. It's just moving slowly. It's moving slow. And we shall see. Let's get these other things sorted. Sesko announced. See what happens with Rasmus's future and Garnacho's future, because it's going to give us more flexibility in the market for this Baleba thing. All right, asking the serious questions here. Midfield. We know that Bruno's going to play, guys. We know that Bruno's going to play. We're gonna toss Bruno in here. We're not even going to poll it. Who should be Bruno's partner? Just based on our vote, right? We're not, this is, by the way, it's not a prediction. This is what you're going to vote for. I've successfully brainwashed everybody into choosing Ugarte. Offer Brighton a friendly. I don't think it works the same way in the Premier League, to be honest, because they organize a lot of these competitions for summer, but maybe. Yeah. We don't have the ideal pairings for Bruno, but the best one is probably still Ugarte. To be fair, in the game we watched against Everton, the Bruno Ugarte pairing was 1-0. It was the only winning pairing on the pitch. It was 1-1 with Ugarte and Mainu. And it was 0-1 with Bruno Casemiro. It was 1-0 with Bruno Ugarte. So on that giant statistical analysis, Bruno Ugarte is still just the best pairing that we have, unfortunately. That's the truth. All right. Do I need to poll the left wing backs? Everybody's going to want Dorgu. Everybody's going to want Dorgu. Everybody's going to want Ahmad. There's 0 chance they lose in the polls here. But let's do the center backs. Yeah, Casemiro really showed well for himself on that second goal, Tris. Really, really great. He did so good. Yeah. He had nothing to do with us conceding there as the sweeper preloading his slide tackle from 8 yards away and taking himself out of the play instantly when his job is to clean up when someone loses the ball. Yeah. Casemiro has no blame in the matter. I think these are our only two left-sided center back options. We can't. Yoro has to be on the right because Mazraoui's not fit yet. You could do like Delict, Maguire, Yoro. I'm just for now. I just want to stick to polling like the basic options. We've seen Shaw or Heaven play at that left side every game so far, so I'm gonna stick with he wants a lefty on the left. Otherwise, the complications of doing these votes gets just like too much. You know what I mean? Let's see on this vote. Let's see if people get it yet. I have no idea how Maguire doesn't win these like dramatically. He's literally better at everything. I have no idea. I'm still so confused. De Ligt got absolutely ruined against Everton too. He was probably the worst player after Ugarte. That's what cracks me up. Like he was getting dominated by Beto the entire game. He was completely lost. I like De Ligt, but he had a really, really bad game too. And it just goes under the radar. And that's cool. I wish when other players had bad games, they got that little bit of criticism. You know? But people have their favorites. I feel like it's because people still have this whole like old Ajax thing. They still see De Ligt as a player he was before. But yeah, he had a rough game. I think he's gonna have a good season though. I think he's gonna have a very good season. Like people still think De Ligt is like a technical master, and he's not. He's not. He's a decent defender, but he struggles with physical strikers quite a lot. De Ligt does. I don't hate any of the players in the team. None of them. If Maguire's fit, he'll start. I'm pretty positive for quite a while. I said the players in the team. Garnacho ain't in the team anymore. They ain't in the team. They're in the bomb squad. The bomb squad ain't part of the team. I like everybody who's remaining. Like I've even said, I described Hojlund in a certain way. You know. It's just it is kind of funny though because I feel like the De Ligt Maguire thing is really amusing because I think a lot of people are still looking at players from like 4 years ago. They think Maguire's shit because he had a bad like stretch, 2.5 years ago, and they think De Ligt is still the guy they saw at Ajax when he was 19. It's kind of funny, you know what I mean? I think people genuinely have a really hard time evolving in their perception of players. From what they were before to what they are now to things like that. You know, it's kind of amusing. Like a lot of the takes I see, I'm like, hold on a second. Maguire's not that guy, and De Ligt is not that guy. You know, but regardless, we'd probably get a central center back next summer. Either way. We'd get it this summer if we had the money to move into these positions. It's not a challenge to dribble around Maguire? That's interesting. I think Maguire is one of the better individual defenders in the team. All right. Maguire's won by a little bit. A little bit. Obviously, this is going to be Euro. Who the hell do we put in goal, my friends? I love Marcus, but it's a... Oh, yeah, Jason. Maybe another day. Another day. The heat is on. The heat is on.
No Baleba equals go for Gavi. He's behind Pedri, Olmo, De Jong.
Oh, we're not going to get Gavi.
Barca.
I hear you.
I know,
I
but
hear
let
you.
me dream.
I hear you, but we're not going to get Gavi. I hear you. Turn up the heat. The heat is on. Easy, easy, easy. I would genuinely start Tom Heaton on opening day. Genuinely would. Seriously, because like, I love the guy. I love the guy. There you go. There's your team for tomorrow. Can we borrow De Gea for a game? Yeah. There's your team for tomorrow. I did want to show something interesting though. Hold on a second. How did I do this? Wait, what did I want to show? I don't remember anymore. It's whatever. There it is. There's the team. That's what people are voting for tomorrow. Let's see in the morning. Obviously, ideal world, you just swap Hojlund for Sesko next week, right? And then a goalkeeper, who knows? And then that's probably your team, right? I mean, would given this is the team that's mostly agreed upon. That's mostly agreed upon, right? Next week, is this the team then that we start the season with? It seems like it. Not heaven. I mean, you need Shaw's experience. Sesko should be fit to start. Like, his fitness shouldn't be an issue. It's whether he gels with the team and tactics well enough. I'm not, Shaw will probably start. I agree with you guys on that. Shaw will probably start. But is this not the team we would want to start as a community more often? More like we haven't all agreed on every single one, but most of the decisions were consensus, or at least like a 60-70% one direction. Would this not be the team that most people here would want to see? For what we have. Yeah. You think Euro starts at left center back against Saka? Won't Dorgu be taking care of him? But I guess we'll see, huh? Yeah, I can't really see any obvious changes, though. Like, I could see Shaw for Heaven. I'd probably play Shaw for Heaven, personally, but... Yeah, I think Dorgu will overrun Saka. We'll pin him back quite a bit. interesting. All right, well that's the team. I mean, yeah, I don't think we'll start heating either, but I think we should. I think we should. So it's gonna be interesting times. I mean, guys, Baleba is still on. Baleba is still possible. Baleba is still something that could happen. We got to move slowly here. We've got to get Sesko done. We've got to sort out this Hojlund situation. Hopefully get some money in from Garnacho, and then line up what could be the offer that attracts some serious attention, and see if they will open the door. But it's an interesting time. It's a very, very interesting time. And obviously, if and when I have more on any of these subjects, I'll do it for sure. So there you go. That's it. I think this is it.
Positive business done so far in the window based on names. Now I'm excited to see how good we are getting good value for selling players.
Interesting. I mean, that's fair. Like I said before, I couldn't give a damn about what we sell players for, to be quite honest. Like, it's just it's a meaningless proposition to me. But I hear you. I'm most excited to see whether the players we buy actually get better, and whether the players we have actually get better. Because I think that's going to be the biggest determining factor in our success in general. Can we improve the players we've got in the team? Because, like, you take this whole midfield debate. It's all good. What would help a lot is if they all got better. If they all actually, like, grew as players. You know what I mean? That would help our midfield work out. You know, the idea that midfield, especially midfielders, mind you, the idea especially that midfielders are like the finished article by 23 is kind of weird. A lot of them change and evolve dramatically over the course of their careers as footballers. I mean, they change a lot. And we do have this thing where I think with some of these players that it's like assumed they're going to be the exact same as they used to be. And I hope not. If we're successful as a club, then players are going to change and players are going to grow, whoever they are, all of them. Especially, like, I think once you're like maybe 27, 28, you kind of know what you are. But a lot of players change a lot. I mean, a lot of players become ultimately very, very different from the age of, you know, in the years that they play and develop in terms of what they are. So, you know, I mean, Luka Modric, his first senior season in the Premier League was 22 at Tottenham. 23, he only made 21 starts that season. You know, that's essentially older than Menu, same or older than Ugarte. It's like things change a lot. We need to see these players improve upon what they are. I mean, it's funny, at Zagreb in Croatia, he had a 24 goal assist season, did Luka Modric. And then he like changed into a much deeper midfielder, and then he changed into a more attacking midfielder. Like, he changed so much over the course of his young career. But we need players to improve. We need players to grow at United, or we're never going to get there. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. Apparently, did Rodri get a big injury? Did somebody say this? Am I missing something? Has Rodri got a new injury? Oh, Lissandro got a haircut at Carrington. There you go. Somebody says not huge. He will not be fully fit until after the September international break, Pep Guardiola's revealed. Happens a lot after ACL. Well, that's why I said that, to be fair, that was told to me about the Lissandro thing and why some of the estimates they think are a bit optimistic, because they think it'll maybe take longer because you get a lot of little setbacks and things like that. So even if it looks like he's close, probably more like end of October or something like that to see him consistently. So fair enough. Hopefully they don't go spend a bunch of money. All right, that's it. I'm gonna end it there. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the match, 5:45 in the morning for me, for a preseason match. Hopefully it's worth it. I'll try to be on obviously early to watch. Maybe afterwards we'll do a live, 7:45 a.m. We'll do a live, get your guys' thoughts